Hello, everybody. This is Noah and John, and we are from UrbanDigs, and it is Friday. So you're going to get your weekly Manhattan market update. John, let's get right to it. I'm looking at supply 6165 elevator going down. Show me that chart.
It is going down, Noah. This is the last stop. I don't know where we're going to finally get off here, but we're approaching 6,000 really quickly. We dropped another 3% over the week, and I gotta say, I think we are on the express train to the 5,000ville, and I don't know.
We're going to the
when
fifth floor.
Yeah,
we're going to the fifth
going to
floor.
the fifth floor. That's better.
We've been on the sixth floor for the whole fall, really. And I mean, we haven't. I thought we were going to go into the seventh floor, and now we're going down to the fifth floor. John, this is we're on the low level here. That is not a high floor at all. Buyers are seeing less and less stuff come on. Even though the stuff coming on, the net supply inventory is going down. I guess we'll talk about it later, Johnny. Let's move on to demand. Pending sales 4342. That looks like it's ticking down just a little bit, but not as much as supply. Show me that chart.
That is a slight downtick. No, it basically reversed what it did last week. Essentially, I think last week we were up 0.6%. This week we're back down 0.6%. So if we think about supply as an elevator headed down, this is more like that moving walkway in the elevator, where it's just kind of it's going pretty quickly, but it's just going sideways. And that's kind of what we're seeing here with pending sales. Yeah,
we're at like a slightly accelerated pace. Right. That's a good really analogy there. And that's because, you put these two together, these two forces together, and the market pulse is starting to go back up. That's why we created the market pulse, to kind of, take out the noise and take supply and pending together for you. And when we talked about, Johnny, a brief discount window for buyers, that is what we were talking about. Right now you have a visual representation. Now we have hindsight, so we can go back and actually see what we were saying. And we said, buyers, you got a brief discount. It's starting to go the other way, mainly because the inventory is starting to go the other way for buyers, and contract activity is ticking up. We're going to go into that in just a second. In fact, let's go there right now, John. I'm going to my dashboard. I'm looking at supply in the weeklies. 301 things came on the market. Show me that chart.
Yeah, and that's down another 6.8% from the week before. And really, this is what we've seen weekly supply doing since really toward the end of September. It's just been progressively going down. And if you zoom out and you can see that chart there, you can see those sort of the troughs of the chart. That's usually always right around the holidays, and that's kind of what we're headed toward now. So, if you're a buyer, it's not going to look any better, because supply is just simply not going to be coming on until January.
That is right. That's what we're trying to say right here. Let's take a look at 1 week contract signed, level of demand, 339 things. That's still a lot. Johnny, show me that chart.
Yeah, it is a lot. That's a 5.5% increase, I suppose, from last week. That's really 339. That's the busiest week we've had since June. I mean, you look back at that. So yeah, I think that speaks volumes to the market that we're in, which is that supply is on a steady downtrend. Here we go. And then weekly contract signs are just on an uptrend. So it's really pressuring the buyers.
Yeah, and there are bids. And I just want to point out, John, there are more contracts signed on a weekly level than there is supply coming on the market. Now, I like to say 1 week is not a trend. So when I go to the 1 month, sure enough, there is more supply than there is deals. However, I just want to go off track for a second. When I go to my search system right over here and I look at current inventory, I can go and do a historical status search. And if I just take a look at November so far, month to date, and take a look at how many active listings came on the market, 893. And if I change that to contract signed for the same time period, month of November, 917. So this is why we're starting to change our tone right now. We are starting to quickly get away from that buy side window. Buyers are seeing it close. We have more deals in the last 19 days than listings that came on the market. And I guess that's a good segue, John, to this chart, which is net inventory. Why don't you tell us what's going on here?
So here, basically, we're taking all the listings that have come on during a given month, and we're subtracting the ones that went into contract and the ones that went into off market, to give you a sense of what does inventory feel like? What does that net sort of feel like? Because you put yourself into the shoes of a buyer, right? You're really focused on those new listings. You've probably seen everything's been on the market for 30, 60, 90 days, and you're well aware of that, and you're really focused on what's new. And I'm here to tell you, there's not a lot new. In fact, if you're thinking about the net inventory, it's negative, and it's been negative really for over a year now.
Right. And this is exactly why supply is pressured down. And this right over here in September, and I guess you can call this in October, that was the window we were talking about. And it was not much at all. It did not last at all for buyers in terms of a net positive of that inventory coming on. So I don't see this number changing anytime soon. I'm looking ahead the rest of the year. I just don't know how that pops to positive. We will keep an eye on it. But all of this translates ultimately into pricing trends, Johnny. And we like to look at resale condo price per square foot. This is how we look at price action in Manhattan over time, excluding new development, right? And this is monthly. And this is by time of contract signing. So it's very real time. And this is what the chart looks like. And we put some dotted lines on the top resistance and the bottom resistance pre-COVID historical to show you kind of where we are now. And I just want to point out a couple of assumptions, Johnny. We are still well below, okay? We are well below that lower level when you look historically before COVID. We're still in that value territory. Okay, that's number one. And number two, you could see here that we did bounce off of the lows. You can see it right there. We bounced off the lows, but it looks like we're hitting a bit of a wall, and it looks like we're going into like a mixed zone right over here. I don't know which way it goes, but I don't know if we're going to go down, if we're going to go up from this point right over here, but it looks like we've bounced off our COVID lows and now we're in like a new little channel.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Noah. And I think that there's a lot of, uncertainty. If you start thinking about, what the COVID situation looks like in Europe, you start thinking about what the Fed's going to do with interest rates. And, it's not necessarily a reason for people to stop buying, but it's certainly a reason for buyers not to bid like crazy, because yes, there is scarcity, but at the same time, there is still some uncertainty. So I feel like prices are going to be channel bound here for the next quarter or so.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. There are some risks going forward, and that's how this things work, right, John? We don't go in a straight line forever. We're going to bounce up off them. We're going to be in a little channel here. Maybe we'll go lower a little bit, but ultimately, I think we're going to power up into this zone back over here. Let me ask you, John, do you think we are going to retouch these COVID lows in the next 1 year?
That's a great question. I don't think so. I mean, I think those COVID lows were really an artifact of what happened during COVID, which was, something that unprecedented in terms of its scope. I mean, the market shut down and no one could transact. And I think that's why you saw that spike down, is because not only did you have the fear, you had the panic, and then it was basically the liquidity was pulled out from under you, so you couldn't transact. So if you had to sell, you had to sell at a steep discount. I think that's what you saw. So I don't think they're necessarily going to go back to, I think we sort of understand these risks. So I don't think we're going to go back to that sort of level of fear and uncertainty. I do think we could tick down a little bit here, but if I zoom out and I'm looking at this back to whatever this 2003 when this starts, it's a pretty stable market. I mean, there is some volatility here, no, but it's really nothing like what you would see in the equities market or something like that, where you have these big spikes up down 30% plus. This is a long, steady, stable uptrend we're in, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, and I'll just say that with supply going down right now, right? We showed that earlier in the show, and with pending sales starting to tick back up, the market pulse starting to tick up, contract activity is in the 1400s. That is very, very high. I think that is going to put a floor. I think that's going to put a floor to this little early downturn that's going on right over here. And quite frankly, if I had to be my true opinion here when I'm looking at this, is I think this downturn right over here is really a function of the slowdown that we had from July, August, September, October into November. And it's not really representative of the market over the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, which I think is starting to turn around. So what I'm saying is, if we reload this chart in another 4 or 5 weeks, I think it's going to show this thing starting to go back up a little bit. I don't think it's going to go up a lot. I don't think it's going to do that, but I think it's going to go back up in top of that channel. This has all been great, Johnny. It really does show that this market is changing, and we are seeing that change. So we will keep you posted. Johnny, thank you for bringing all these charts up. I am Noah Rosenblatt. That is John Walkup. We are both from UrbanDigs. Don't forget, if you guys got questions, we got answers. Please check out our forum right over here. If you want any of the reports that we showed today, it'll be right over here on your right side. And other than that, this has been your Manhattan Weekly Market Update. Don't forget, next week is Thanksgiving. We will take a day off, so we will see you in 2 weeks. Have a great weekend, have a great holiday, and we'll catch you next time.